What if I told you that Star Citizen's biggest update yet wasn't just about flashing new features, but a massive gamble on the future of the game? With Alpha 4.0 finally here, let's break down what's working, what isn't, and what's coming next. Star Citizen Alpha 4.0 has finally landed, and it's packed with incredible updates, stunning new locations, and exciting gameplay. Today we'll explore the highs and lows of 4.0, discuss the roadmap ahead, and dive into what could make or break Star Citizen's future. Alpha 4.0 may feel like a turning point, but to fully appreciate it, we need to acknowledge the hurdles and missed opportunities of 2024. This year was meant to deliver on promises that had been building excitement since CitizenCon 2023, but the reality didn't quite live up to expectations. Take Master Modes, for example. Introduced in 3.23, this was supposed to redefine flight and combat in Star Citizen, adding depth and strategy to engagements. On paper, it was a revolutionary idea, segmenting standard control mode for precise ship control, and nav mode for quantum travel and strategic maneuvering. But after the initial implementation, we've seen little to no refinement. Ships like the F-7A Mark II still dominate combat, and multi-crew ships feel underwhelming without more balanced turret systems or better integration of crew roles. Combat often boils down to who has the most maneuverable ship with the most firepower, rather than rewarding strategic decision-making. Even interceptors, which are already incredibly powerful, remain unmatched. A simple tweak such as making turrets more effective at long ranges or improving the performance of multi-crew ships in defensive roles could have gone a long way. What's even more frustrating is that the quantum travel overhaul, a feature that could have transformed how we traverse the verse, remains absent. Quantum Boost, which was supposed to allow players to quickly cover shorter distances without entering full quantum travel, would have made exploration and mission running far more intuitive. The system we have now feels clunky and incomplete, and it's disappointing to see features like this left on the cutting room floor. It wasn't just about flight mechanics that fell short. Engineering gameplay, one of the most highly anticipated features, or the least anticipated features of 2024, didn't make the cut either. This system would have added meaningful multi-crew interaction by allowing players to manage ship power, repair damage, and fine-tune their ships during combat. It had the potential to turn multi-crew ships into true team-based experiences rather than the somewhat underwhelming gameplay they offer today. Similarly, the Maelstrom armory mechanics, which would have introduced new strategies for ship defense and survivability, never saw the light of day. Star Citizen's combat system has needed more depth for years, and Maelstrom could have been the first step in addressing this. Without it, combat feels overly simplistic, lacking the layered decision-making that we were promised. Visual fidelity is one of Star Citizen's hallmarks, and the lack of global illumination in 2024 was a noticeable absence as well. Pyro's dramatic landscapes and celestial backdrops are already stunning, but global illumination could have elevated them to an entirely new level, making lighting more realistic and immersive. Even the smaller, less flashy features like FPS radar and scanning tools, which would have enhanced exploration on foot, were left out. These mechanics could have made missions in caves, derelicts, and settlements more engaging, rewarding players who take the time to carefully search their surroundings. And traversal mechanics such as sliding, mantling, and ladder improvements would have added a new level of fluidity to FPS combat. To CIG's credit, in my opinion, they did deliver about 2/3 of the features promised at CitizenCon 2023. Now, that's no small feat for a project of this scope, especially given the challenges of implementing server meshing alongside these updates. But that missing 1/3, comprising some of the most ambitious and impactful features, leaves a noticeable void. These were the features that could have transformed Star Citizen into the game that we've all been waiting for, and their absence makes 2024 feel like a year of unfinished business. Now, before we dive into the dual approach of 4.0 and what's next for Nyx, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I post clear and concise Star Citizen information every week, keeping you informed and ahead in the verse. One of the most controversial decisions surrounding 4.0 preview was CIG's choice to maintain two parallel builds, 3.24.3 and 4.0 preview. On the surface, this was a smart move, a safety net to ensure that players could fall back on a stable version of the game if 4.0's launch went sideways. But this does also allow them to say that they did get 4.0 out at the end of the year. Let's be honest, after the chaotic launch of 3.18, where server issues and game-breaking bugs made the game nearly unplayable for weeks or months on end, the caution was very understandable. Server meshing, the cornerstone of 4.0, is one of the most complex systems that CIG has ever implemented. If it had failed catastrophically, keeping 3.24.3 alive would have allowed players to continue enjoying the game without interruption. Thankfully, 4.0 preview has been far more stable than anyone expected. Sure, there are still some bugs and performance hiccups, but compared to the disasters of the past, this rollout has been remarkably smooth. I don't know if any of you remember 3.0, but when that patch came out, the performance was very, very low, and it was barely unplayable for the better half of a year. If that was to happen today, everyone would be taking to Spectrum. The improvements to server performance and crash handling are evident, showing that CIG has learned from their mistakes, or at least some of them. However, now that 4.0 is suddenly having issues with black screens, the continued existence of 3.24.3 feels like it might have been necessary. Now, for many players, including myself, the 3.x cycle was effectively over when 4.0 was stable. That is until things became questionable here and there. But Pyro, with its dynamic environments and exciting new gameplay loops, has become the new frontier. And sticking with 3.24.3 feels like clinging to an outdated version of the game. The lack of progression carryover between the two builds only makes this more apparent. Any progress made in 3.24.3 is effectively a dead end, which discourages players from investing time in the older build. Instead, most of the community has already moved on to 4.0, leaving 3.24.3 feeling like an afterthought. Now, if we could only get 4.0 to be running as good as it was in the last patch of the PTU. Looking back, it's hard not to wonder if CIG could have handled this transition differently. If they had fully committed to 4.0 from the start, we might have seen a more cohesive launch, with all players focused on exploring Pyro and testing the new systems. While the dual approach made sense as a precaution, it might have been more beneficial for them to hold off for a couple of months so they could iron out the many issues that still existed. With that said, this decision highlights an important shift in CIG's philosophy, a greater focus on stability and player experience. Even if the dual builds feel redundant now, the fact that CIG prioritized a fallback plan shows a commitment to ensuring that the community always has a playable version of the game, even though 3.24.3 was in a very, very poor state. The Star Citizen Alpha 4.0 preview has proven to be far more impactful than many of us had initially expected. While it's easy to focus on what's missing, the update has introduced several groundbreaking features and gameplay opportunities that showcase the game's potential. One of the standout additions in 4.0 is the introduction of Asteroid Bases. These provide a new take on Stanton's bunker missions, offering quicker, more engaging scenarios designed for smaller groups. Unlike bunkers, which have started to feel repetitive, these bases add variety and an element of danger that makes each encounter unique. For players who prefer bite-sized gameplay loops, Asteroid Bases deliver exactly that, while still offering meaningful rewards. The layouts are intricate and immersive, combining tight corridors with open spaces, forcing players to adapt their strategies. They're also more accessible, making them perfect for casual groups or solo players looking to test their skills. The addition of contested zones has been another major highlight. These areas blend PvP and PvE combat, creating high-stakes gameplay that's both challenging and rewarding. For the first time, Star Citizen introduces a real sense of progression, with loot tied to these zones. The hunt for the 9 unique keys to access the executive hangar has been one of the most satisfying gameplay loops I've experienced. Unlocking the hangar and claiming ships with meta loadouts felt like a genuine achievement. It's a significant step toward creating long-term goals for players, something that's been missing from Star Citizen for years. Finally, we need to talk about Pyro's locations. The system's handcrafted environments, from asteroid clusters to derelict settlements, represent a level of detail that surpasses anything that we've had in Stanton. The visual fidelity and atmosphere are unmatched, and the dynamic challenges in these locations make Pyro feel alive. These additions have set a new standard for Star Citizen's environmental design, leaving many players, myself included, hopeful that Stanton will receive similar updates in the future. If there's one thing that sets 2025 apart, it's the promise of a renewed focus on stability and performance. After years of crashes, bugs, and unpredictable server issues, CIG is finally making playability a priority, and it's a change that's long overdue. Star Citizen's technical challenges have driven many players away over the years, Persistent issues like server desync, poor frame rates, and game-breaking bugs have often overshadowed the game's incredible ambition. But Chris Roberts' recent statement about making stability the core focus of 2025 feels like a turning point. A stable game is a playable game, and a playable game is what keeps players coming back. This focus on stability could mean fewer interruptions, smoother gameplay, and a more enjoyable experience for both new and veteran players. The improvements that we've already seen in the 4.0 preview and EPTU suggest that CIG is taking this commitment seriously. While server meshing is still in its early stages, it's already improving server performance and reducing crashes, regardless of the issues that we have currently. The hotfixes released since 4.0's launch have further enhanced playability, setting a strong foundation for the updates to come. If this momentum continues, 2025 could be the year that Star Citizen finally delivers a polished experience that matches its ambitious vision. With Pyro firmly established in 4.0, the next big milestone on the horizon is Nyx. And after seeing the preview at CitizenCon 2954, it's hard not to be excited about what's coming. Nyx could mark the beginning of base building, a feature that's been teased for a couple of years. The first iteration is expected to allow players to establish small outposts with mining rigs, power systems, and even landing pads. Paired with the introduction of crafting systems, Nyx could fundamentally change how players interact with the game's economy and survival mechanics. This also offers them the opportunity to refine existing systems like master modes, flight mechanics, and quantum travel. These mechanics teased in the past couple of years could reach their full potential with the release of a new system. With its lawless environment and unique challenges, Nyx is poised to become a playground for risk-takers and explorers. It represents the next step in Star Citizen's evolution, and if CIG delivers on its promise, Nyx could redefine what's possible in the game. The Star Citizen 4.0 preview has proven to be much more than just another update. It's a glimpse into the future of what this game can be. From Pyro's incredible new locations and loot systems to the promise of stability and the exciting potential of Nyx, we're seeing the project evolve in ways that are finally starting to pay off. That's not to say everything is perfect. There's still work to be done, and plenty of missed opportunities from 2024 that need to be addressed. But if CIG can maintain their focus on stability and deliver on the features teased for Nyx, the next couple of years could be a transformative period for the game. The verse is changing, and it's exciting to think about where we'll be in 2025 and beyond. What are your thoughts on the 4.0 preview and the roadmap ahead? Are you as excited about Nyx as I am, or do you think that Stanton still deserves more love before we expand further? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. And if you're enjoying the content and want to support the channel further, consider becoming a channel member. Members get access to exclusive Discord channels, early content previews, and recognition in future videos. Your support helps me create more in-depth content like this and keep exploring the verse with you. As always, thanks for watching. Fly safe, pilots, and I'll see you in the verse. Havoc out.